Oh yeah, quick note before we start. If you hear random thunderstorms and or rain noises in the background, it is because it is currently thunderstorming directly outside my window. Just pretend it's ambiance music I set in the background, it'll be fine. Skullgirls has recently been getting caught up in drama with its fans, its haters, its competitive scene, or all three of those groups at the same time every couple of days it seems. Last time I decided to talk about this game, I got my most viewed video on my channel, a crap ton of engagement, hit 700 subscribers, and had some great conversations about Skullgirls' current state of being in the FGC. Oh, and got dislike bombed and called slurs, as a treat. Recently, with the absolute mess surrounding the controversial changes to the Skullgirls art book and game itself, one of the changes catching a lot of heat from the fans is a change that I think was never something that was intended to be taken in the way that it was. What do I mean by this? Well, I'm talking about Big Band, one of the characters from the game, and the changes surrounding the story mode for the character. Big Band has a lot of interesting features as a character. He's mainly robotic, he's a character of color, and has a RoboCop-esque run in the story of Skullgirls. The problem that I'm going to dive into is how these three things were not pieced together properly by the devs over at Autumn Games. Before we start, hi, I'm Zak Not Kyle, or Zak for short, and I talk about video games as they pertain to creative writing and popular culture. I'm currently studying for my BFA and MFA in creative writing, and I'd love if you stuck around for some funny, goofy content. Subscribe with the silly red button, like this video, and comment your thoughts on the situation below, and without any further ado, let's get into this mess. Also, before we start, I do actually have a Patreon now, where you guys can actually get early access to all of my chapters of my books that I'm working on. My reader tier for $5 a month includes access to chapters 1 month early, digital downloads and PDFs, and you get behind the scenes artwork and final copies of the artwork when they come out. And in the $10 tier, which is the bookworm tier, you guys will get patron shoutouts on YouTube, and you also get exclusive voting power in what chapters I publish for that month. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're interested. I would really appreciate the support, but if you can't support me monetarily, a like and a follow is always appreciated. Alright, back to the video. I think the first thing to talk about in regards to Big Band is how I talked about him originally for no more than 10 seconds in my first Skullgirls video, which was stupid. I got to have some nice conversations with people in the comments about everything surrounding Big Band and how the character was never a character motivated by race and a character motivated by justice instead. So this is something I wanted to rectify in this video and explain how I, as a person who is newer to the franchise, would interpret this differently without further inspection. That was definitely my bad, and I'm glad I looked into this more because Big Band is an interesting point of discussion when it comes to how a character story can be reinterpreted through real-world events. So I've given our exposition on Big Band as a character, and now we're going to discuss the intro of Big Band's lore, aka the thing getting edited retroactively as we speak. So Big Band was actually a cop for New Meridian, which is basically 1940s America but spoofed. But unlike many of the officers there, he was not corrupt and stuck to the law and only the law. His own troop members, however, got into a decent amount of conflict with him when almost everyone turning their backs on him and leaving him to die. The only one to not betray him was Irvin. Now, this scene is what sparked the changes that the Autumn crew decided to make. Here's the problem. Big Band's story is about fighting crime in his own way because of the nuance he has in regards to the crime fighting put in place in the city of New Meridian. What the devs spun it as was a scene of racial insensitivity, and here's why I think they came to this conclusion. So this is going to veer slightly into the socio-political climate of the United States, and for good reason, because I think it's the same climate that prompted the team to look into this. Big Band was implemented into the game in the mid-2010s, I think it was 2014 if my mind serves me correctly, while in 2020, the BLM movement would reach a high point in the United States after many injustices were carried out against people of color by police officers, sparking protests all over the country and the world at large. Why am I explaining this? Well, because Big Band is a character of color who experienced injustice from the police department of his own city. So that's also where my comparison is going to end, because Big Band is supposed to be a spoof of RoboCop, not modern United States social issues. And this is where the turnover in the dev team around 2020 influenced the story quite negatively. With the modern optics of how the scene could look under the wrong lens, the dev team decided to make the rash decision to change this part of Big Band's story that not only was never about his race, but also weakens him as a character. His motivations are made less clear because of the fact that his catalyst moment of fighting crime in his own way, because of his colleagues turning their back on him, is now axed in favor of people taking things the wrong way, even though the context of Big Band getting beaten half to death was there. This is going back to the fact that Big Band is a spoof of RoboCop. RoboCop is a character who ended up being permanently altered because of the injustices in his city, but here, the injustices that Big Band faces are the justice that's supposed to protect him. So it is a decent rewrite of the RoboCop story, but that context was missing in the minds of the dev team. From here, we start to see how Big Band's sense of justice forms outside of just the law. Through his interactions with Peacock and Painwheel, we see Big Band feel the need to push the younger characters of New Meridian in the right direction in the city, mostly because he knows they don't have their back. He takes things into his own hands to help Painwheel and helps Peacock fight Marie towards the end of the story mode. We see how Big Band knows how in over her head Peacock is in empathizing with Painwheel, having experienced unjust pain that altered him forever. He feels that metaphorical pain she goes through and wants to help her change, so he protects her and makes Leduc take Painwheel back to Lab 8 to fix her up. Meanwhile, most of the story mode goes back and forth between Big Band trying to find Peacock and finding Marie by proxy. It's hard to track both of them down, but the two plot points connect together to make the final battle culminate in a fight against Marie that Peacock gets saved from. At the end, as the sun sets on New Meridian, Peacock and Big Band are looking over the horizon while Big Band monologues about finding purpose beyond his detective work, accompanied with Peacock's occasional roast, which Big Band retorts back with, "These two are amazing." And everything I just described does not have to do with racial insensitivity. Big Band as a character is not a character based off of racial injustice. He's based off of finding a new sense of justice after his own body was destroyed by the very system that should be protecting civilians, not harming them. And it's especially worse because he actually was a cop, so he recognizes how the justice system is on both sides, which makes him an interesting character to give a roster spot to in this game. Through the story mode, we can see how Big Band's story is not a story involving his race at all. His story is relating to him as a person, recognizing how a system needs to change and his willingness to help the youth of the city build a better world after his mechanics stop kicking. There's a high chance that the story won't be the same because of the context being taken out of the beginning, if it will even be as good as it was ever again because of a misinterpretation. Had the story just been left and the changes were left at definitely getting rid of a lot of the things relating to Philia being sexualized as a 16-year-old, because that's still weird even though people keep trying to justify it in my comment section, then maybe we would have a very different conversation about the entirety of the censorship changes, because the art book changes were stupid, Big Band's change was stupid, and this one was definitely the more interesting tale to look at. But that's going to end today's video. Do you play Big Band and Skullgirls? Do you want to play Big Band and Skullgirls? What's your opinion on Big Band's story now? Do you wish that they would have kept it? Do you want them to change it? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, I have to go talk about the Ungati for my next video, so stick around for that in like 3 days, because I have literally not been able to film videos for like a week straight because of my wisdom teeth getting taken out and I'm losing my mind. Bye, sis.